Good afternoon. It's once again Friday, 6:30 in the p.m. And of course, we are at the Chicago Access cable television. And as usual, I look forward to always having the opportunity to interact with you and to share with you some of the things that have gone on in Washington, D.C. on this week. And this week has been a very informative week, as all weeks are. As a matter of fact, there's never a week that something interesting and exciting does not take place in the District of Columbia. And I look forward to sharing that so that we can help enlighten our citizenry with what it is that we really do. We had a great discussion this week about something called democracy, and that was a bill that came out of one of the committees that I serve on, which is oversight. And of course, the function of that committee is to provide oversight of governmental activities, and it can be almost anything that it determines is in need of oversight, or anything that we figure the voters and Congress and people can benefit from. And so the particular bill really had to do with a great discussion about what democracy really means. And ultimately, we took the position that it means that everybody in our country must adhere to the law, that there are no exceptions, and that not even a person like the President of the United States can escape the law, and that the President is subject to the law like any and everybody else are subject to the law. And so we, the Republicans, of course, took the position that we were really beating up on former President Trump. And we were saying that if we pass this law, then whoever is president, whether it's Trump or Biden or anybody else, they are not above the law. And so we passed it in the House of Representatives. And of course, I, like many other people, had my 2 cents worth on the floor in terms of why I thought we should pass it. So I spoke in favor of it. So that's one thing that we did. I've been pushing, and I tried to get my fellow colleagues to sign on to, we call these sign-on letters. And this is one that we wrote to Charles Schumer, who is the Senate Majority Leader, to Mitch McConnell, who is the Senate Minority Leader, to Nancy Pelosi, who is the Speaker of the House, and to Kevin McCarthy, who is the House Minority. This letter came from the members of the Congressional Black Caucus, and we wrote them to ask that they respectfully close the Medicaid coverage gap and provide a fix for non-expansion states, and that it be done in a meaningful way in the Build Back Better Act. Some states are not as fortunate for their senior citizens as we are in the state of Illinois. We have Medicare coverage. We also have Medicaid expansion, and we expanded Medicaid during the time that Barack Obama was president, and Pat Quinn was the governor of Illinois. So if you live in the state of Illinois and you are a senior citizen, in all likelihood, you can get decent health care just being a senior citizen, because you can get help, serious help, to pay your bill. So in the state, in Cook County, we have a very good health care delivery system. The Cook County Board is charged with the responsibility of making sure that senior citizens are medically indigent people, and many seniors would be indigent if we did not have Social Security. And I'm on a bill right now that is designed to increase Social Security benefits, because many of our seniors, the only thing that they have in the way of income after they have retired would be their Social Security benefits. Now, if you worked at a place that had a good pension plan, you have perhaps better benefits than that. But if you didn't, for example, my father's Social Security check, he's been gone now, I guess, about 10 years, but his Social Security check was $568 a month, because it was based on what he earned. And also, much of the time that my father worked, he didn't pay into Social Security because he was a farmer. And of course, he was a sharecropper most of that time, although he did eventually purchase his own 40 acres of land, and he was very proud of that. As a matter of fact, he made sure that he left that land to us, me and my brothers and sisters. There were about 9 of us, so it wasn't a whole lot that we got. But he always said, I'm going to make sure that I leave you all something. But his Social Security check was $568 a month. But he lived with me on the weekends when I came home, so he didn't have to pay no rent. He also ate whatever I ate, which wasn't that much. And so he didn't have to worry about food. And during the week, he lived with my sister, who lives in Hazel Crest, Illinois, and he didn't have to pay her any rent, and he didn't have to buy any food, so he did all right. He could spend his little money the way he wanted to spend it. He often would want to spend it if we went out to dinner or something. He'd want to pay for the dinner, and he would jokingly kind of say to my wife, "Oh, I'm going to buy your dinner today," and so and so and so and so. But $10,000, $8,000, $9,000 is not much for a senior citizen to live on. And many of our seniors barely get enough money to pay their rent, even if they live in senior housing. And then to be able to buy food and whatever other necessities that they have. And so we need to raise the amount that they get for Social Security. I am in favor of doing that. And so I'm very much in favor of doing that. And I'm on a bill with Congressman John Larson, who chairs the Social Security Subcommittee in Ways and Means to do that. And so we have these debates and we do it, in a civilized manner. And, Fred Hampton, when he was, of course, he never lived to be much except a young fella. Fred Hampton described politics as being war without violence, and he described war as being politics with violence. And I thought that was so profound and so heavy that at 20 years old, he understood that and he recognized it. So part of the reason that we revered him so much as a young person was he understood that. One of the things that I'm pushing for right now is to try to get my colleagues to be in favor of something called a Create Partners program, including the Class 1 railroads that the city of Chicago, state of Illinois, is in favor of. Now, the CREATE program has invested more than $1.2 billion in rail infrastructure improvements in Chicago that make rail traffic more efficient and reduce interference with commuter rail and motor vehicle traffic. $170 million for the Ogden Junction WA1 project would be the first investment on the west side of Chicago and addresses one of the most important remaining blockages in the network, one that affects the movement of freight and the health of the physical community alike. It's called the Ogden Junction WA1 project, and it entails the rebuilding of 16 railroad bridges that run along Rockwell Street from Fulton on the north to 16th Street on the south, and repair of the viaducts below the bridges that provide the entire pedestrian and vehicle access between the west and east sides of Chicago across the entire swath of the center city. Given that many railroad bridges and their attendant viaducts were built as long ago as the 1800s, and nearly half will be at the end of their useful life by 2030, we consider this project to be of major importance. So we're talking about spending $170 million for this construction work to fix these bridges and viaducts. And so I'm asking all of the rest of the members of Congress in Illinois, especially all the Democrats, to sign on to a letter saying they support this. And of course the letter would go, Senator Duckworth has already signed on, and 5 or 6 of the other members have said they will sign on. But that's one of the ways that we get support for things that may be going on in our district, are things that we want to see happen. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about the infrastructure bill that everybody's been talking about, and let you know what it really means for Illinois. First of all, Illinois is one of the top beneficiaries of the recently passed infrastructure bill. Our state will receive almost $18 billion to improve our roads, water, and transit. Illinois will receive the 6th highest amount of highway funding, $9.8 billion. Illinois will receive the 4th greatest amount of funding for bridges, $1.4 billion. Illinois will receive the 4th highest allocation for transportation, $4 billion. And Illinois will receive the 4th greatest amount for water infrastructure, $1.7 billion. Broadband. In Illinois, there are 228,000 Illinoisans, or 14% of Illinois households, have no internet. Illinois will receive a minimum allocation of $100 million to help provide broadband coverage. Come to electric vehicles. Illinois will likely receive $149 million over 5 years to support the expansion of electric vehicle charging stations throughout the state, and the opportunity to apply for $2.5 billion in grant funding for charging that's in the bill. For climate change, Illinois is scheduled to receive $27 million over 5 years to protect against wildfires, and $22 million to protect against cyber attacks. Illinois will also benefit from $3.5 billion national investment in weatherization. That is, if you want to get your house weatherized and all of that kind of stuff, which will reduce energy costs for families. Just good stuff. Illinois will receive money to improve our airports and the opportunity to apply for funding dedicated to electric vehicle charging in the bill. It's a lot of money. It really is. Any way you cut it. It's been approved. It is coming to the state of Illinois. And now we have to make sure that minorities small business, people who do construction work, women-owned businesses, black-owned businesses, that these businesses get an opportunity to get a part of this money. So anytime we're where any of the elected officials are, we need to talk about it. The governor is going to be at a church Sunday, and the pastor has invited me to come and say something that the governor can hear. And that's going to be at the Reverend Ira Akers Church out in the Austin community, the Greater Holiness Church. And of course, I intend to be there. And I'm going to tell the governor that we've got to make sure that the African American community, that the black community, that the Hispanic community, that the Chinese American community, that all of these communities get a fair share of opportunity to make some money off of this $18 billion that's going to be spent in Illinois over the next 5 years, dealing with transportation, highway fixing, roads and bridges, the Chicago Transit Authority, the railroad people. And so it's a great piece of action for the state of Illinois, and I am just delighted that I was in Congress at this point in time, and I was a supporter of this, and that the President Biden and Senator Durbin and Senator Duckworth, all of us combined our efforts, and that's what made it happen. You gave us the opportunity and the charge to do it. And by golly, we have done this piece. Now we got to make sure that it is equalized, make sure that it is prioritized in a way that we fix up those things. I've got groups in my community that want to fix up parts of Lake Street. They want to spend $2 billion on Lake Street and in that area. I got other people, of course, who want to spend $2.7 billion of the money on the Eisenhower Expressway. They want to fix up Eisenhower. And so it's going to be a lot of work. If you know people who want to work construction and they don't have the training, they need to get the training. They need to join up, go out to the training program that Reverend Ford and the St. Paul Church of God in Christ Ministries have. And they are in my district. Great program. We got to push the Chicago Public Schools to put more vocational training in the curriculum so that when kids come out of school, some of them will not only have information in terms of knowing things, but they will also know how to do things. I always say that if you know how to do something, you can always have a job. You can always make some money. Of course, I always say that the person who knows how can always get a job. The person who knows why, though, will generally be the boss. But you can do both. Generally, if you learn how to, eventually you will also understand why. And so a lot of people start out one way. I know people who started out shining shoes, walking up and down Madison Street, who now are successful business people, who own businesses, who own shares of stock, who own buildings, who are invested in banks and other businesses. And so you can start at the bottom and work your way up and through and reach the top. So it's not always a matter of where you come from. It's a matter of where you're going. But if you don't start and keep moving, and if you don't have somewhere to go, it's a sure thing you'll never get there. So, notwithstanding the coronavirus, notwithstanding the challenges that we face right now in our country and throughout the world, we still have great opportunities and great potential. So as we go into the period called the Yuletide, as we get ready to experience another holiday season, it is so good to see people concerned about other people. Share what you've got with somebody else. The greatest gift that a person can give is the gift of themselves. And if you can learn to love others as the good Lord loved us. And I know there's some people who don't believe in Christianity. There's some people who don't believe in religion. And the good thing about the United States of America is you can do that. And nobody's going to bother you for it. I make no bones about being a person of what is called the Christian faith. I do believe, and I believe philosophically, that for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. I believe that somewhere in the darkest part of the night, a candle glows. And so I believe that there is redemption for us all. Have a wonderful weekend, a great Friday, a great Saturday, a great Sunday. Be ready to get up and go to work early Monday. May the good Lord bless you and keep you. Thank you.